So, our proportions review. This is a really, 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 really big concept, and if that unit rate. And usually EQAO always asks you a unit rate question. Now you have one that you have to use unit rate on. That's an open response question inside your booklet. So it says here, important things to remember. Unit means one. Now it's not going to say calculate the unit rate. No, you can't do that. It says here unit rate means the cost per hour, the cost for 1 hour, or the cost per kilogram, which means the cost for 1 kilogram. And if you know what the cost is for one, then you're able to find it of multiple items. So it says here, to find the unit rate, you always divide the cost by the amount. I would like you to highlight that for me, please. This is a big one. Unit rate, divide the cost by the amount. You have to remember that. Cost divided by the amount. So sometimes you may be getting really, 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 really small numbers. For example, here, it says paper is sold in different size packages. Which package has the lowest cost per sheet? So when it says here, what is the lowest cost per sheet, it's saying what is the lowest cost for one sheet. In order to do that, what we do for A, I'm going to do this in two ways. Whichever way helps you remember, that is fine. As long as you remember to divide here, I'm going to set this up as a ratio. So it's saying for $1, you get 150 sheets. So this is the dollar side. This is the number of sheets. I don't want to know how much it costs for 150 sheets. I want to know how much it costs for one sheet. So I'm going to put a 1 down here. I have to find this missing number here. How do I do that? I have to do this through division. 150, how do I get 150 to become 1? I do 150 divided by 150. Then I would do here 1 divided by 150. What do I get when I do 1 divided by 150? Jonathan? 0.0066. Okay, so what I want you to do when you get a weird number like that, you should get 0.0066 because it's telling you it costs less than a penny for one sheet of paper. That kind of makes sense. I'm then going to do this for the rest of the three. Now, do you have to do it this way? No. Okay? Because what you're doing here is essentially you're taking the cost and you're dividing it by the amount. But if you are able to remember this, which sometimes students do, what they have a tendency to do is just divide the bigger number divided by the smaller number. That's wrong. You always take the cost divided by the amount. So for B, so I'm going to write A here. This is what we did for A. For B, if I do the cost divided by the amount, what would I get? What math would I do here? Andrew, can you help me out? Pardon? I'm doing cost divided by the amount. That's my cost divided by 200. What do I get when I do 1.2 divided by 200, Ben? 0.006. Is there anything else after that? Okay. So right away now, which one costs more, A or B? Nick, which one's costs more, A or B? A, because it has that number after it. Okay, when I go to C, Justin, what do I have to do for C here? 250 divided by 500. Jonathan, what do I get for that? Okay. And then finally for D, Tristan, what do I do for D?
5 is 150 divided by 1,000.
And what do I get for that, Noriel? Okay, so looking at all of these answers here, Bailey, which one is the lowest cost? Yeah, 0.005. So this is a question, you can't get around it. You have to do the unit rate for every single one. Okay, so that's an example of a question where you have to do the work for all of it. Okay, any questions with unit rate? Okay, percent. Important things to remember. Always change the percent to a decimal. You do that by taking your percent and dividing it by 100. You take the decimal and multiply it by the amount. This is the percentage of a number. In discounts, you need to subtract. Tax, you need to add. Okay, this was actually a test question here. It says, we go to the movie theater. She has $20 to spend on treats. She buys 2 soft drinks, a chocolate bar, and popcorn. She also pays 13% tax. How much change should she receive from her $20 bill? Well, I have to figure out what is her total cost. Total cost. How do I figure out the total cost? Nick, could you help me out?
You have to add.
Not you, Shield.
Um, sorry, what did you
I
say?
want to figure out the total cost. So how much will it cost her? What's the first thing I need to do?
Don't you want to add everything she bought, like the prices of everything she bought?
Okay, so what would I add?
229 plus 196 or 69 plus 3.49.
Am I missing something here? Lucas?
Cost of food.
No, I'm just finding how much she spends on treats. I'm missing something here. It's in the question. Andrew, do you see it?
Oh,
No. Nick?
do you need to do the tax too?
I do, but I want to figure out what the total, the subtotal is. What am I missing here? Nick?
She buys 2 soft
She
drinks.
buys 2 soft drinks. So I need another $2.29. So what do I get when I add all of those up? This is called my subtotal. What do I get? Lucas, can you help me out?
9.76.
9.76. Oh, look at this. EQAO put that as an answer, 9.76. Why is that wrong? What do I still need to do? Andrew? Add the tax. Okay, now only with the tax. I'm going to show you the trick for tax. If you remember, I said to find the tax, what you can do is take your subtotal and times it by 1.13. You can only do this for tax. 1.13. If it's not tax, you can't do it for anything else. You would have to use 0.13 because again here, 13% tax, I would take 13 divided by 100, which gives me 0.13. But I put the tax 1.13, that's a little trick. So what do I get, Ben, when I multiply those together?
8.63.
Pardon?
8.63.
No, I shouldn't get that. Try it again. What are you putting in your calculator, Ben?
Oh, 11.02.
I think it's 11.03.
It's 11.028. So you round it up.
Rounded up to 3. Now look at what they have as an answer there, 11.03. Is that answering the question, Nick?
No, it's not because it's asking for the change.
Ah, yes. Do you see how this is a huge question? I have to find the total cost. I have to find the tax. Then it says here, how much change should she receive from her $20 bill? So I'm going to write here the change. What math do I have to do to figure out the change, Justin?
Subtract.
Okay, which is what?
11.02 minus 20.
or 20 minus 11.03, which gives me an answer of what, Jonathan?
8.97.
Very good. Okay, cross multiplication. Important things to remember when writing fractions, make sure the categories are the same on the top and bottom. You had a multiple choice question like this in your booklets that are due to me. You want to make sure the top numbers mean the same and the bottom numbers mean the same. You're to draw an x, multiply the numbers attached by the x, divide by the number attached to the variable, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's do this one here. I have to start setting up some fractions here. It says here, the Lucas family is going on a trip to Manitoba and back. It is 1,624 kilometers from home to Manitoba. Determine the total cost of gas for the Lucas's family trip to Manitoba and back if gas costs 83 cents per liter and the car uses 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers. Holy smokes, this is a lot. I'm going to set up my first ratio. What's my first ratio here? If you had to make an educated guess, what's my first ratio here, Tristan?
9.7.
Excellent. 9.7 and 100. What is the 9.7 talking about, Noriel? And what is the 100 talking about, Bailey? Very good. So I have my first ratio set up. This isn't a ratio in the first sentence because it's only giving me one number. This is telling me the cost. Okay, I can't really use that. Then I look here, 9.7 liters per 100. That's my ratio. Now, what do I need to figure out here? I have to set up a second ratio. This is liters, this is kilometers. I'm going to be writing a liters kilometers in this second one. What number will I put in there? Nick?
Would you put 1,624 instead of 100?
Not instead of 100, but on the?
Other side.
Yeah, I'm going to put it here, 1,624. That's a kilometers that they gave me. Okay? So if that's the kilometers, do I know how many liters it takes to travel 1,624 kilometers, Lucas?
No.
No, so what would I put on the top there?
83 x.
I'm not going to put 83.
zero point
Okay, 0.83 is talking about what? The cost, right? What's this number talking about?
liters.
Liters. So I have to have liters up here. Do I know how many liters? No, so I just put a variable, x. I don't put that 83 cents in there because it doesn't make sense. I don't have it's not a liter, and you have to match the categories. So this x here will represent liters. Now when I do my cross multiplication, which again you have a question like this in your EQAO booklet, I draw my x and I multiply the numbers that are attached by this x. So Andrew, can you tell me what will I write next after this?
X equals 15,700.
Okay, how did you get that?
Times 9.7 times 1,624.
Good. So I'm multiplying. So you could put brackets around this if you would like. 100 times x, Ben, what does that give me? 100x, good. And then when I do 9.7 times 1,624, what do I get, Ben? 15,752? Is that what you get?
0.8.
Point 0.8? Okay, and then Nick, what's my last step going to be here?
Then you would have to isolate the variable.
Good. I want to get x by itself, just like solving equations. These 100s cancel out. So Jonathan, what am I left with on my left-hand side? What am I left with on my left-hand side? Okay, good. So x, and then what am I left with on my right-hand side? Okay, you can round it to 53. So that's telling me that it will take me 157.53 liters, because that's what I'm solving for here. I have x represents the liters. Okay, there's a couple things that I need to consider. This is a difficult EQAO question. So I have 157.53 liters to take me from Manitoba, or sorry, from home to Manitoba. Because it says Manitoba and back, what do I have to do to that answer? Tristan? I have to times it by 2. So when I times this by 2, because it's telling me and back, how many liters do I actually use for my total trip? Noriel, can you help me out? Okay, good. So this is telling me that in my total trip, both there and back, I will use 315.06 liters. Again, I still haven't answered the question. Holy smokes. It says here, my question, determine the total cost of gas. Bailey, what is my final step going to be? Okay, so I'm going to take 315.06, which is the amount of liters, and I'm going to multiply it. Bailey, what number will I multiply it by? Beautiful. 0.83. You wouldn't believe how many of my grade 9 applied students, when they were asked this question, multiplied it by 83. That's like saying it's $83 time for every liter. That's ridiculous expensive. So you have to change it because this says cents. We had to change it into dollar notation. And Nick, what would my total cost be here?
Um, 261.9.
So $261.49 approximately. Okay? So that is cross multiplication. Yes. Good. I'm glad you do. Okay, I'm going to give you your worksheet to work on.